This is Hashtag History, episode 126. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And this week's weather had me thinking back on one of my most favorite trips I've ever taken. Sacramento is continuing to see unprecedented rainfall this past week, this upcoming week, for all eternity.
Yeah, it's never ending, which is interesting because really our summer usually starts in March.
That's what I was going to say. March is typically when we start touching on like 80 degrees. It's typically summer.
Yeah.
What am I wearing today? A sweatshirt, pants, brought my raincoat for March. Yeah. So I hate that. And it did have me thinking back on the time when I went to London and how for pretty much the entire week we were there, it just rained and hailed the whole time.
It was so miserable. That happened to us too. Not in London, but.
And the funny thing too is like, I think of the difference between how, maybe this is just me, but I feel like it's Sacramento natives react to rain versus like people that live in London. Like you just continue on with your day when you're in London. Like,
but no, the world shuts down here. And or goes crazy here.
It does. Like our schools close, which I mean, I'm glad in some cases they do because there's road issues.
Yes.
But even today, I was like timing out when I left my house to come record based on how hard it was raining.
Yeah.
We don't understand when there's substance falling from the sky.
What is happening?
What is happening? As opposed to in London, when my husband and I were there and it was hailing, we were like, oh my God. And everyone around us was just like
what are you doing?
Like walking around with hail in their hair.
Yeah, not even umbrellas.
No.
Just,
literally no umbrellas.
Yeah. You're a noob if you're walking around London with an umbrella.
Oh, they were like, tourists. Those are tourists.
Obviously.
They're screaming about the hail. But one of my most favorite things that we did while we were in London was tour the British Museum, which I just learned that when you were in London, you didn't go.
No.
But it does make sense because you said you were only there for a very short period of time.
Yeah. And I was on like a tour group, like a high school travel club. So we had very specific things we were doing within those 2 days.
Yeah. For anyone that has never been to the British Museum, you can and you will spend an entire day at that museum. I believe my husband and I spent between like 7 and 8 hours there, and we still missed so much.
Yeah.
The British Museum truly has everything, and that's exactly the problem. The British Museum is home to roughly 8 million objects, the majority of which aren't even on display for you to see.
Which is really sad. They're like in boxes in the basement.
Oh, yeah.
It's so sad.
Just in cardboard boxes on shelves.
Yeah.
Artifacts that are 3,000 years old.
And that have such importance to other cultures or whatever. And then they're just sitting in a basement somewhere.
And never get rotated through.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Of their high-ticket items that are on display, it's safe to say that a good chunk of them were stolen. Yeah. Take the Parthenon marbles, for example, that the Greek government has repeatedly demanded the British Museum return to them, or Egypt's Rosetta Stone. How about Nigeria's Benin bronzes, or the Moai heads belonging to Easter Island? The list of stolen artifacts goes on and has caught such public attention that even John Oliver, the British comedian, he said on his Last Week Tonight show, the British Museum is, quote, the world's largest lost and found, with both lost and found in the heaviest possible quotation marks, unquote.
That was such a good episode.
I knew I had to sprinkle it in here somewhere.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do with the format of this episode is to briefly discuss the history of the British Museum, its origins, how it managed to acquire cough, cough, steal so many of its artifacts, and then to discuss what those contested artifacts are and what those countries are doing now in their attempts to have their property returned to them. We'll be diving into all the things this week, but first, as always, let's dive into this beautiful and refreshing looking drink.
Nice.
Yes. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And this is Hashtag History,
the podcast for both history nerds and history haters alike,
where we dive into history's greatest stories of controversy, conspiracy, and corruption.
All right, you know what time it is. It's that time to thank Alicia Gutierrez Romine.
It's actually funny because I didn't know what you were going to say, and I was going to say time to thank Alicia. That was the next thing that was going to come out of my mouth. It's a regular segment.
Right.
This isn't the cocktail segment. This is the gratitude to Alicia segment.
Yeah, exactly. Really. She sponsored a total of 5 cocktails, so you might be tired of hearing her name, but honestly, we're not tired of saying it.
No, we're not. Thank you so much, Alicia. It's so sweet.
Yeah. So today I'm going simple and shockingly less literal with the cocktail. When I discovered we would be talking about the British Museum, my mind immediately went to gin, because when I think gin, I think London.
Yeah, I love that.
So we're doing a super simple gin fizz today, and I'm going to just say, let's call it the British Museum Gin Fizz.
I love that. This should be served in their cafe.
Yeah.
It makes the experience a lot more fun. You're looking at the Easter Island head like, hey, big guy.
Okay, so this contains gin, London Dry preferred, lemon juice, pomegranate syrup that I made a little while back and had a little bit left to sweeten it up a little bit. And then you just mix all that together and then top it with some club soda and a couple cubes of ice. And you got yourself a British Museum Gin Fizz.
I love it. It looks so good.
Now, before we dig in, I wanted to touch on a funny period of British history that's kind of related to this, called the gin craze.
Okay. I know nothing about this.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't either, but I was like, I just want to, look and see why do I think gin when I think London or England? So apparently in the first half of the 18th century, the consumption of gin increased rapidly in Great Britain, especially in London. Daniel Defoe, who was a London journalist at the time, commented, "The distillers have found out a way to hit the palate of the poor by their new fashioned compound waters called Geneva, aka gin, so that the common people seem not to value the French brandy as usual and even not to desire it." So Parliament at this time passed 5 major acts in 1729, 1736, 43, 47, and 51, designed to control the consumption of gin because it got so out of control.
Wow.
Though many similar drinks were available and alcohol consumption was considerable at all levels of society, gin caused the greatest public concern.
That sounds like that needs to be a hasty history episode.
Yeah, again, this is a very brief overview of it. I didn't do a deep dive, but I thought that was just so funny that like there's a literal gin craze, essentially when gin was like created and made popular, and people were going crazy for it.
And so much so that Parliament passed
acts
because it was a public concern.
Yes.
That's a story that we have to dig into.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Because mine is a virgin version, the gin is not real gin, which means I like it. And so I'm going to give this a 9.5.
Mine is real gin, but we know that Leah likes gin now.
This is true.
And I'm going to give mine a 9.
Mm.
So it's a 9.25.
Thank you for doing that math for me. Thank you for that. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. It's
refreshing.
Good. It's so easy too. Mm-hmm. Literally just pour some gin and put some simple syrup, or this, in our case, it was pomegranate simple syrup, lemon, and club soda.
And I love anything pink. So I like that the drink is cute.
Yeah, it's got a little
pink and flirty.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I mentioned up top, I have been to the British Museum, and while I personally understand, respect, and fully agree with the various countries calling for their historical artifacts to be returned to them, I will selfishly say the British Museum's amazing. Mm-hmm. I mean, the fact that you can view mummified bodies in the same building as you see Easter Island heads, in the same building that you see the Rosetta Stone and parts of the Parthenon, for the convenience of the tourist, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Again, I support all of these countries' rightful claims to their property, but the British Museum really was such a cool experience, and I'm glad that I had the opportunity to spend a whole day there. Mm-hmm. Now on to the history of the museum. Speaking of acts of parliament, unrelated to gin, but roughly the same time period, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So one of your gin craze parliament acts, like the latest one was 51. So this happened in 53.
Yeah.
An act of parliament created the first national, meaning that it did not belong to the king nor the church, public and free museum in the world, the British Museum. The British Museum is one of the most popular museums in the world, with more than 6 million annual visitors today. Initially, although intended to be available to the public, this really wasn't the case. The museum was only open for a limited number of hours, meaning that only the elite who had the kind of time to be going to museums in the middle of the day while the rest of the world was working could actually attend and enjoy the museum.
Right.
This would eventually change, though, allowing for people from all walks of life to visit and enjoy the exhibits. The museum first opened on January 15th, 1759. It was originally a mansion called Montague House that stood in the same location as the current museum does today. The original artifacts for this museum were made up primarily of the collections of three men: Sir Hans Sloane, an Irish collector, Sir Robert Cotton, a member of Parliament, and Sir Robert Harley, the first Earl of Oxford.
Is it like a requirement to have the name Bob?
Well, what I was going to say is it's always amazing. I think you had shared this with me one time about the guy that started like the Smithsonian museums. Just, it's amazing that museums start with this one guy that collected, or Isabella Stewart Gardner. Just, it starts with a personal collection that some people own so many books and so many artifacts and so many paintings that it can quite literally make a museum.
Yeah. And then that can morph into the Smithsonian.
Yeah. It's amazing.
You can do anything if you put your mind to it.
Assuming people want the stuff that you leave behind.
Right.
Because I have a large collection of books. Does anyone want my murder mystery novels that honestly I would give like most of them a 2.5 rating out of 5.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is that these people were probably rich.
Yes.
And probably already had valuable antique.
So are you saying my thrift books Gone Girl is not going to be held for the ages?
I just don't know that people appreciate it as much as you.
Yeah. You're right.
Maybe. I could be wrong.
Maybe. No. The museum building, as we see it today, was built between 1832 and 1852. After many renovations and additions, the museum is now 990,000 square feet. If you are doing just a brief tour of the museum, really just, you go in with the mission, you're hitting up the major artifacts, stopping only briefly here and there to read a few of the placards, it is still recommended that you set aside somewhere between 3 and 4 hours just to do that.
Oh my gosh.
So then, if you're someone like me who likes to stop at every placard in every museum, it can be really, really daunting. Like, I remember feeling physically exhausted from standing.
And did you go to the cafe?
Oh,
you had to.
For sustenance.
Yeah.
It was strictly for sustenance. I think I don't even remember what I had.
Probably $20 for a shitty sandwich.
You're taking the words out of my mouth. I was going to say
it's a museum.
I know, but I was literally going to say I probably spent $20 on a sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we spent 5 minutes at the cafe. Let's go.
Yeah. Love it. I love it.
The museum has been visited by some of the world's biggest names. The reading room, which is currently closed to the public, saw many big name visitors back in the day, such as Karl Marx and Virginia Woolf. While the British Museum has largely remained open and available to the public, there have been a few times in history that they have had to close their doors. The most recent one that I'm sure we can both easily think of was, of course, during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. There actually has been an even more recent closure. It happened this last month, in February of 2023, when the museum had to close due to a shortage in staff as a result of worker strikes protesting against poor pay and labor conditions.
So just add that on top of stealing artifacts.
Yeah, they also don't pay their employees or appropriately. Yeah.
Cool.
There have been a few other times in history that the museum has closed, namely during the World Wars. During both wars, artifacts were moved from the museum to safer locations, and fortunately so, because in 1940, during the Second World War, the museum was actually damaged during a bombing raid. Over time, the museum began to acquire more and more artifacts. In the late 1700s, when the British defeated Napoleon in Egypt, the British took with them a number of Egyptian artifacts granted to them under the Treaty of Alexandria, 2 of which we're going to look at here. So let's check out the first one.
I'm so excited. Are these actual pictures you took or just ones you found?
These are ones I found, but I have almost identical pictures on my phone. It just would take me a long time to find them.
Right. Okay.
You don't have to know, obviously, exactly who and what.
It's a sarcophagus.
Yes.
I don't know of who.
I wouldn't expect you to.
Yeah.
So I do have a nearly identical picture on my phone of that. It blows my mind that exists.
Yeah.
And that you can view it.
Yeah.
It just, I can't. It blows my mind. This is the sarcophagus of Nectanebo II. And I show this particular artifact for two reasons. One, because I have a funny personal story to go along with it.
Oh, great.
And two, because of its historical significance. And I will, of course, then start with its significance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. You'll have to wait for my personal stories. This sarcophagus was long thought to belong to Alexander the Great, which just makes it that much more valuable. Eventually, however, in the 19th century, the hieroglyphs were translated, and it was determined that this sarcophagus had actually been prepared, but never used, for Nectanebo II, the last native Egyptian pharaoh. Nectanebo would end up fleeing when Egypt was returned to Persian rule. The hieroglyphs that you can see on the sarcophagus, they tell the story of the underworld and detail the sun god's journey. It's so cool that this exists and that you can still see the hieroglyphs along it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now for my funny personal story.
Yes.
There are, of course, signs all around this sarcophagus that tell visitors not to touch it. I mean, this artifact is more than 2,000 years old. The fact that we even have this artifact still today and that's available for the public to view continues to blow my mind.
Yeah.
But as my husband and I were standing there admiring it,
did some little kid get grubby little fingers on it?
That's exactly what happened. But not just some kid. Kids.
Oh.
We were standing there. We, first thing in the morning got to the museum.
Yeah.
And this is in one of the first rooms that you walk in. And yeah, we're standing there and all these signs, do not touch, do not touch. This whole school field trip of probably like 24 5 and 6 year olds come running in. When I say touch it, they were essentially all but like climbing into the sarcophagus. Like they were climbing all over it, hands everywhere.
I would have said something.
My skin was crawling. Their teachers were right there and their teachers got them off of it. Yeah.
Okay.
They were not alone, but there was enough time to touch it and curse themselves and their families for generations to come.
Like you just added a little bit of peanut butter to that sarcophagus. You know that one of those kids had peanut butter on their
There's
fingers.
peanut butter in between the hieroglyphs now.
You know.
Can you imagine as a museum curator? Yeah. Picking peanut butter out of a sarcophagus.
Like a little Q-tip and you just have to...
Oh my God. Yeah, when I think back on that, my skin crawls.
Yeah, no, my skin is crawling now as well.
Yeah, so that's that story. Moving on.
All right.
Another artifact obtained under the Treaty of Alexandria and the museum's most famous piece is...
Oh, it's some sort of stone with lots of writing on it.
Now, this is the Rosetta Stone. This is one of the most important artifacts in human history. This stone here allowed historians in the early 1800s to decode ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, opening up a whole world of language and understanding into Egyptian history that we had never had before. Mm-hmm. And when we came up on the Rosetta Stone at the museum, I remember initially thinking, oh, cool. They have like a replica of a stone that's supposed to look like the Rosetta Stone. Not, what's the word I want? Not processing that this was the real thing.
Yeah. Because let's be real and frank, the real thing shouldn't be there.
Yes.
That's why.
Yes.
That's why I would originally think like, oh, it's a duplicate of it or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be there.
It shouldn't be there. And the fact that it is and that it's available for anyone to see is just wild.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, we are so excited to share with you about Macy's Wine Shop. Yes, it is that Macy's. Macy's has launched their very own wine shop, which includes full-size, delicious wines curated by their experts coming from renowned wine regions, which include our home state of California and beyond. You can select exactly what type of wine you are looking for. Do you love reds? Do you love whites? Maybe a little bit of both? You can make these personalized selections quickly and easily through the Macy's Wine Shop. What makes Macy's Wine Shop better than any other online wine club is that they deliver quality wines at unmatched price points, all within 1 to 3 business days. Seriously, I ordered my wine on a Monday and had already received them by that following Wednesday. And with our link, you get $50 off a 6-bottle box of Macy's award-winning wines, which is a $95 retail value. Head to the show notes of this episode to access the discount code, or you can head to our Instagram to find the link in our bio. Cheers!
To better describe the controversy that resides with the British Museum maintaining possession of the stone, I think Egyptian writer Adolf Sweif said it best. She said, quote, "The stone so makes me think of how often Egypt has been the theater of other people's battles. It's one of the earliest objects through which you can trace Western colonial interest in Egypt, because of course it was found by the French in the context of Napoleon's invasion of the country, and then appropriated by the British when they defeated him, and the French and British argued over it. No one seems to have considered that it belonged to neither of them," unquote.
I love that quote.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I thought that was great. And again, I say for the convenience of the tourist, it's a lot easier for me to go to London than it is to go to Egypt. But does that mean it's right? No.
Yeah. And I do want to touch on that in that, like, it's convenient for us to go to London because they speak English and maybe it's cheaper and all that kind of stuff. But, like, it's not necessarily convenient for the people of Egypt to go to London.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's just like, that was something that came up in the John Oliver episode about the British Museum, was just like, the people that this actually belongs to, it's actually harder now for them to see this part of their history.
Yes.
Because it's far away and not where it belongs.
I'm so glad you said that, because we're going to get to something later that is a lot of the controversy surrounding that particular artifact, is how difficult it is for the people of that country to ever view a huge, huge component of their culture.
Yeah. Because it's a million miles away in England.
Again, for us, England feels far away.
Yeah.
That's nothing in comparison to how far these other countries would have to travel to view something that is rightfully theirs.
Yeah. And it's not even like distance, it's just like ease, right?
Yeah, no, ease and convenience of language and culture and style. And definitely. I think that's a really good and important call out. Continuing with more of the museum's most popular and most controversial items, I'm going to turn us now to this one.
Yeah. I think I remember learning about this in my art history class.
Really?
Yeah, because it belongs in the Parthenon, right?
The picture that we'll have up on our Instagram, you'll see some of the many, 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 many marble statues taken from the Parthenon in Athens. I keep inserting personal stories in this episode.
That's great. I love it.
But until you've seen these sculptures in real life, it's difficult to fathom just how large they are.
Yeah.
I took a picture of my husband beside one of these figures, and the foot of one of them was bigger than the majority of his body. The foot.
Yeah.
And these marble sculptures, maybe you can describe this better than I can, but when you envision the Parthenon, or really envision any kind of Greek style building, you have those long columns, and at the very top there's that triangular section.
Yep. I just watched Hercules, so I know exactly. Imagine where the muses are.
Yes, thank you. I knew you'd describe it better than I would. Everyone knows the muses from Hercules.
But yeah, it's inside that triangle. There's all of these sculptures, or they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right there. Used to be.
Yeah.
But the scale is really, really important and really interesting.
You wouldn't think that they're that big.
Yeah.
Because it's such a small fraction of the Parthenon.
Right.
Is that little triangular piece.
Well, because, 99% of people have never seen the Parthenon in person. They see pictures of it, so they just see it and they're like, oh, that's small, right?
Yeah.
Or not small, but like, oh yeah, that's a normal size building. No. It's a ginormous building that they built in like ancient times.
Yes.
With no cranes, people.
Yes. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating. And the fact that there's multiple figures within that small space, and that the foot of one figure is larger than the average human's body, is just so mind-blowing.
Yeah.
The museum's possession of the Parthenon has likewise... Wait, I shouldn't say of the Parthenon.
Parthenon
they own the whole Parthenon. They have the whole thing there. The columns outside the museum are actually from the Parthenon. That would be up, because that definitely has peanut butter on it.
Yeah.
And other things. The museum's possession of these sculptures from the Parthenon has likewise been hotly debated. The figures were removed from the Parthenon between the years of 1801 to 1812, stating that they were removed with the express permission of the Ottoman, who occupied Greece at the time. This has been called into question by the Greek government, however, who has repeatedly in recent years demanded that the British Museum return the figures to them.
This is a really interesting point to me, because like, even in like a situation where maybe the Ottoman Empire did give you permission to take it, maybe you should give it back.
Yeah.
Because that's where it belongs.
Yes. And
Even
the Ottoman aren't still ruling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like, even if you got it in a true, valid way, but the people whose ancestors built it are asking for it back, maybe we should give it back.
Yes. Like,
don't
is
know.
it that complicated? It is that complicated for the British Museum, who have repeatedly said over time that they obtained not only these structures specifically that we're talking about, but many of their artifacts legally. And they also really push that they are the reason that these artifacts are in the great condition that they're in now, that it is, we have the British Museum to thank for these figures being saved from damage and decay.
Again, I even argue like that could be true, but it's a Greek piece of art.
Yeah.
So maybe it belongs in Greece.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking such amazing care of it.
Thank you.
Now give it back.
Give it back, please. Yeah. I mean, if people are going to view the Parthenon, but then you have to
cooler if there's some figures there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And something I've heard the British Museum say a lot. So the picture that we'll have on our Instagram that you just looked at is a small fraction of the figures that are at the museum. There's a whole room of these. Like they're all across the room. And the British Museum has said many times that this collection is not complete if we give even like one of these figures away. But that's, I'm just saying what they're contending is like it's either all or nothing, and we refuse to do all. So you're going to get nothing. They have said multiple times that they essentially, I mean, the British Museum has come out and said we would lose business.
Yeah. And I there's a part of me that gets that side too. Like I do get that as a current modern business, they would lose business. Yeah. But I don't know.
But how much value do you place on money versus culture?
Exactly.
And rightful owner.
Yeah.
As recently as earlier this year, actually, in 2023, the British Museum did acknowledge for the first time that it is in talks with Greece to potentially reach some sort of compromise. Listen to this quote, though. They said, quote, "We've said publicly we're actively seeking a new Parthenon partnership with our friends in Greece. As we enter a new year, constructive discussions are ongoing," unquote. It's super vague, but it's an acknowledgement nonetheless, something that they have really never done before.
Yeah.
Another one of the incredible artifacts at the British Museum that, again, my mind instantly said, oh, this has to be a replica because the real thing can't seriously be here, is this one.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So this is one of the Easter Island heads.
Yes. Sorry.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Maybe we should describe it.
but the way your reaction is the reaction I had when I saw it.
Yeah.
Like I was like,
that's not real.
That's not real.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing to see that, but then to have seen that after you like just turned the corner from seeing 2,000-year-old mummies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're about to head into the Parthenon.
Oh my God.
Or the Parthenon figures immediately after that. Overload.
Yes.
So that's just one of the two Easter Island heads that the British Museum has. This one is called Hoa Hakanani, which dates back roughly 1,000 years. It originates from what is now known as Easter Island, which was settled by Polynesians in about 1000 AD. In 1868, the British visited the island, taking back with them the statue. It was offered to Queen Victoria, who then had it donated to the British Museum.
She was like, no, thank you.
It doesn't fit in the castle. I mean, it is, to be fair, huge.
Yeah.
So I'll give this away. As with many other hotly contested artifacts in the museum, Easter Island has requested that the museum return Hoa Hakanani to them. This has not been done.
Yeah.
The final exhibit that I'd like us to look at is this one, and I'll have you look at it, and then we'll talk more. This is the one I mentioned earlier, that what you were saying about it being a burden and inconvenience for the original native country that these things came from to go and view this huge piece of their culture. This is where a lot of that controversy comes from.
Yeah. And this is me again, because I watched that John Oliver episode. Is this it's like an African nation?
Yes. Yep.
And it's a very huge cultural importance. I don't remember the name or anything of it, but it's very familiar to me. And it's a bunch of like these, they're like squares with carvings on them of, I think it's stone of some sort. And, but there's like a bunch of different pieces of it, all in one display.
Yeah. And this is actually what we're viewing here is what the British Museum has on display. This is just a section of it.
Yeah.
The British Museum has about 100 or so of these on display, but they have a total of 900 of them at the museum.
Yeah.
So only 10%, less than 10% of them are actually on display.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's exactly what you said. So these are the Benin bronzes. They date back to the 16th century and were made in the West African kingdom of Benin City, what is now Nigeria. These pieces of art were used for rituals and for honoring ancestors. They tell stories across the plates, showing some of Benin's first interactions with Europeans.
Wow.
So how did the British Museum come about these Benin bronzes? From the British Museum website itself, it reads, quote, "By the end of the 19th century, the Nigerian coast and its trade were largely dominated by the British. It is in this context of this aggressive expansion of colonial power that the Benin bronzes came to the British Museum," unquote.
Literally just like admitting.
Yeah, but like, yeah, no, they admit, but I still think they say it nicely.
This aggressive display of expansion.
Yeah. I wanted to just talk for a second about what you were saying about the inconvenience.
Oh, yeah.
Of like for people from Nigeria to travel to London.
To see something that
is theirs.
That is
their
theirs.
culture.
Yes. Yeah.
There are some of these bronzes in DC that it's really interesting. There's so many layers to this.
Yeah.
Because Nigeria has requested that those also be returned. And I think DC has been more amenable. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I think we actually are going to return these things, and the British Museum has been, but there actually is an active lawsuit from African Americans, a small group of African Americans that, similar to that convenience, they're like, I live in Michigan. It's way easier for me to go to DC to see something that is a part of my like enslaved ancestors' culture.
Yeah.
That would take me forever, or just the inconvenience and probably the improbability of ever being able to travel to Nigeria.
Yeah.
So it's really complicated. It's really
so
hard.
complicated. And I think every viewpoint on this has its valid points. You know what I mean? Like, your ancestors were enslaved.
Yeah.
And they were brought over here. And now that's a small part of that culture that you can relate to. And you can see by taking a train ride instead of a plane, a train, a bus, and whatever. Yep. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I get that. I do. I understand that.
Yeah. But also there's weight in Nigeria saying these are ours.
Yes.
And we want them back.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the British Museum's website, they do briefly address the controversy surrounding a number of their artifacts. They have a whole page dedicated to what they call contested objects. And you'll take note of the particular language that they use surrounding these objects, that they care for them and are responsible for their current conditions. They also note that, quote, "Some of the objects were taken or purchased in regions then under British colonial rule before they were purchased, donated, or bequeathed to the museum, while others were acquired through excavations, sales, and other bequests by collectors," unquote. The nice way of saying we stole them.
Yeah. Well, the nice way of saying there was a point in time in history where we conquered this land and took it from the people that originally inhabited it. So we should have a right to the things that were there when we conquered it.
That we conquered. Yeah.
That we conquered.
Yeah.
Which is just, not PC right now, or I don't know, like just.
That was the perfect way to put it.
Yeah. That's
these are ours because we conquered them.
Yeah.
So obviously they belong to us because we conquered those lands and those people.
Yeah.
But it's like, but that's also not right.
Yeah.
That's also wrong.
Yeah. Do you not see that, like, that was bad?
That also is wrapped up in stolen.
Yeah.
That's when we're referring to stolen. Yeah. We're not necessarily saying you went to a country that you had
no business being.
Well, yeah, exactly. I know, that's why I stopped myself from talking. Yeah. Like, oh, never mind. Yeah. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
They're the same thing as like going next door and stealing something from your neighbor versus conquering that house and then stealing the stuff from your neighbor.
I plant my flag in my neighbor's yard. It's mine. So now I can steal what I want because it belonged to me for that short period of time.
Which was it ever your right to say that you belong or you own any of their property at all?
Exactly.
It's funny that that's their like explanation on their website, is acknowledging sort of
the like conquistador mentality or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The museum has largely ignored requests to return artifacts to their places of origin. They've stated that doing so would be a disservice to the public. We kind of talked about that.
To your public, not to the public of the people.
Yeah. They've also stated that the British Museum Act of 1963 legally forbids them from disposing of its artifacts, with the exception of some very special circumstances. This applies to all of their artifacts, even the millions that are not on display. And that is something that has been really contested, is these countries that are like, this thing has been sitting on your shelves for decades that no one sees. Could we get that back?
Yeah.
We're not asking. Well, they are. I was going to say, we're not asking for the Rosetta Stone. They are asking for that. But like, Rosetta Stone aside, could we also have all of these other Egyptian artifacts?
Yeah.
Thousands of them.
Yes.
That aren't even on display for the public to see anyway.
Yeah. So who's losing anything
Yeah.
by giving us that?
Yeah. Which public is being disserviced by those things sitting in a warehouse?
Mm-hmm.
One of the few exceptions the British Museum has made to this rule was in 2006 when they returned the bodies of more than a dozen Tasmanian Aborigines to Australia. The board chose to do this on the basis that they understood that these bodies not being returned to Australia to undergo customary burial rituals was causing Australians a lot of pain and grief. They also noted that, quote, the bundles did not provide information of value for the study of human beings that would be lost if the bundles were transferred,
First of all,
unquote.
bundles.
Yeah, that's how they refer to them.
Cool way to talk about, someone that used to be alive. Secondly, you could argue that there's pain and loss involved in artifacts. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Right or wrong, people put a lot of importance and value as clearly as they know, since their whole business is built around it. So to say, oh, well, we recognize that the Australian Aboriginals are like in pain because they don't have this. You could argue the same thing about the people that reside on Easter Island now.
Yes. But I think this here, like I read their minutes from their board meeting, and half of it is acknowledging like the pain and the suffering, and the second half is saying like there was no value in these anyway.
Yes.
So maybe that's the real reason after all. I mean, of course,
let's be real. That is the reason.
That is the reason.
That is the reason. The money.
There was no value to them in keeping them.
Yeah.
So we're going to give these back to you for your pain and suffering.
Yes.
And also because we don't want them. For anyone interested, there is this really amazing website called the unfilteredhistorytour.com that takes you through an interactive map of the British Museum that you can use while you're physically there. Like you can hold it up as you're walking around the museum and it'll show you exhibits, or you can use it from the comfort of your home and it will walk you through each of the disputed artifacts at the museum along with video and audio episodes.
Whoa.
So that's really cool that someone
is cool.
dedicated time to do that.
Yes.
Anyway, that's the British Museum.
Sorry, I had many feelings.
Oh, I'm so glad you did.
Okay.
It's complicated.
It's so complicated. And I know my personal belief is that a lot of the artifacts belong to the nations or regions that originally had them. But obviously, I know there's so many intricacies and things that maybe we're not even aware of that go into those decisions.
Yeah. And I really appreciate your call out of, to me, my first thought, my conscious thought was it's easier selfishly for me to travel to London than it is to travel to Nigeria, than it is to travel to Egypt. But I think the subconscious that I wasn't recognizing is also London is the language, the culture.
Easy for us.
Exactly. That's
so easy for us.
Subconsciously, that is also the convenience for me.
Yeah.
And so I think that was like a really important call out. It made me think like, oh yeah, that's part of why selfishly I'm like, the British Museum is really cool.
No, and it is so cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, you and I are history lovers. It's great to go to a place where there's history from the entire world in one place.
All in one place.
That's so cool. That's why I'm like, this is complicated.
Yeah.
But maybe keep a fraction of that and give the rest back to where it was originally forged or carved or whatever.
Yeah. And certainly when there are millions millions of objects that are not on display to the public. Who, like you said, who are you disservicing? Who are you hurting?
Yes.
By returning those objects to their original countries.
And the argument that, oh, it's in such great shape because we kept it in such great shape. I'm like, that's fantastic. That could be true.
Yeah.
That could absolutely be true. But like, who are you to decide that Nigeria won't take good care of it now?
Yes.
They're asking for it back. And they're telling you they're going to take good care of it, obviously, since it matters so much to them. Yeah. Who are you to say that they won't take the good care of it that you have up until now? I don't know. It's hard.
It is hard. That's it. That's the whole episode. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Hashtag History.
We will share the many pictures that we discussed on the episode to our Instagram, and all sources used to put together the episode can be found on our website at hashtaghistory-pod.com.
Subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you use, share about us with your family and friends, and then give us a rate and review.
Be sure to check us out on Instagram at #history_podcast.
And come join us over on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can help support our books and booze supply. You also get access to some behind-the-scenes content, an automatic 15% off all merchandise, and we mail you cards and stickers.
Sure do.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Extra obnoxious. Paris is where the Louvre is. No. Yes. Oh my God. I told you it's all mush. It's all
totally. That's normal.
It's
that's
all
normal, Rachel.
After many renovations, the hieroglyphs